check out my podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts too, and if y'all do use that, Google Play.
Hey guys, my name is Travis Willingham. I'm the producer of the Young Vagabond podcast.
It's your boy Cody. I am the host of Behind the Mask podcast, the only host. But yeah, I'm here to just be vulnerable with y'all and show y'all what's behind my past.
Joiner, I am the only host of General Dogs podcast, streaming on all platforms.
A lot of independent labels around.
Yo, I'm Bryson Reed. I'm the co-host of the Young Vagabond podcast.
We're ready to open up with our first question, and that question is, how do we create a real, authentic culture in a current culture that glorifies the faith?
I'm going to quote something that I heard Masterpiece of the interview I was listening to this morning. And he just said, do what's right and not real. And a lot of times, I know I'm speaking for me, we always do what we feel like we should do internally instead of going externally, like how you should actually go about a situation. Instead of going based on thinking, okay, I gotta tell it how it is, and sometimes we don't need to hear how it is, we just need to be shown how it's done. And so you know how to move correctly.
You gotta stop trying to be different and start being authentic. Be yourself. The best way to be authentic is to be yourself, glorify, embrace your insecurities, embrace the things that make you, make you a person, make you human, and be that person, because there's nothing better in this world than being yourself. Because when you be yourself, it doesn't only bring out the best in you, it brings out the best in other people.
If everybody doing one thing and that one person not on it, it's like, bro, what are you doing? You living on the rock, you think, bro, you gotta hop on the wave, bro, you gotta hop on the if that's not true, that's not true.
No matter how many people are on this earth, there's nobody like you. And people need to hear your story, people need to hear your experiences, because you never know who can relate to you or who needs a you. And it's a song I heard one time, it's called Nobody's Coming. And the rapper was basically talking about how he grew up with a troubled father relationship. And he said, I might just have to be, but I never have to be. And you stepping out and being authentic and being yourself, you may be that for someone who never had that.
And we have to be real with ourselves before we can be real with other people. I feel like that leads perfectly into the next question, which is about community. Community, I know, is something that's very important to me. Got the Crestwell gang over there, the Kyle gang over there as well. And so the question is that how do we create a life-giving community? Like, how do we build a life-giving community?
Fall, we were in there deep every night talking about being vulnerable, telling stories that, that just, I know, deep down, they've had buried in their heart, and we just talk about it with our group, and it allowed us to grow and make a very, strong, not even a community, a strong family.
Let it come natural. With building your bonds, let them come natural. I feel like a lot of times, especially, I'm going to speak from my perspective, put myself in rooms and places that I haven't been before. Just create new experiences for yourself. Do things you want to do things you like to. And the people that you meet in those spaces, be cool with them, have a conversation with them, but let the bonds form naturally. I feel like a lot of times in our generation, we want to have the bond so bad that we willing to be like, bet, this is my bro now. I just met him yesterday. Start telling them everyone you can't do that. Because everybody don't have your best interest. It has to come with time.
I was listening to this sermon, and it was talking about the keeper versus competitor mindset. So how many of y'all have heard, you're supposed to be your brother's keeper? You know what I'm saying? And so either we can be our brother's keeper, be there for our brothers, look to love people, look to be there to compel people, to just be a friend to people. Or we can be like, you know what, I see Jerry's got a podcast, I'm gonna be better than him. You know what I'm saying? Or you can be like, you know what, Jerry's got a podcast, I'm gonna pull him up with me, he can pull me up with him. So you gotta challenge yourself and wonder, am I walking into this with a keeper, a brother's keeper mindset, or am I a brother's competitor mindset?
What I'm hearing a lot is this idea of vulnerability and gratitude that looks a lot in relationships. I think vulnerability is really the catalyst to exponential growth in your relationships, as far as the intimacy in those relationships. Like, you want to have great relationships, you got to be patient, but find people you can be vulnerable with and lock in, you know what I'm saying? Because that intimacy that grows from, hey, I'm struggling with this, hey, I'm going through this, and being willing to talk about those things. That's the reason the Crestwell community, like, that we talk about is so strong, is because of that vulnerability that we were at. You know what I'm saying? We have to build trust, of course. Don't, like I said, you don't need to be telling everybody about your problems on Facebook, because that's not going to bring up. But like, intentional vulnerability with people is the catalyst to exponential growth and intimacy. And then also be someone who has gratitude. You know, not only just gratitude with yourself, but gratitude with the people that you're walking life with.
Honestly, like this big podcast thing, y'all, it took me probably like 2 weeks before I even came to them about it. Like I had to really think about it and like be real, like intentional, and plan, like what I wanted and how, like what was my purpose. And when you go searching for your communities and even things you want to do with your community, you always figure out your purpose and why. Like why am I doing this? What, like how can I do it? And who are those that can help me accomplish it? Once I answered those questions, the chips start falling, the dominoes fell into what they were supposed to. And they all came into the picture, and this all came about. So if it wasn't for them, believing in what my vision, and me being confident about all of this happening, then things would just be ideal. It'd just be in the air still, a discussion, mutual conversation we all be having that would just keep us together, just on top of it. Like this right here is connected all of us deeply and intimately, just because we broke the surface and we were accountable and very consistent throughout everything.
Is that what can you do in your own life to break the surface? Like, how can you in your life model breaking the surface? How can you in your life model with your friendships breaking the surface? And how can you just basically be someone who redefines culture?
If you're going to redefine culture, you have to be okay with not satisfying everybody. Everybody is. And this is from anybody who wants to be a creator. If you're a creator, y'all are creators. People have the opinion to not. They have the right to not like what you do. They have an opinion to feel a way. They have the right to say whatever they want to say. Right? It's up to you how you receive it and how you internalize it. Because you can turn it into whatever you want to turn it into. Somebody can say they may not like your episode of the podcast. They may not like y'all's posting. They may not like your topics. But are you gonna stop? Because guess what? That son's still gonna get up in the morning. Professor's still gonna drop that assignment. You still gonna do it. You still gotta find it next week. You feel me? Like, what are you gonna do about it? It's all about your drive, man. You finding your purpose or you're wasting air. That's Nipsey Hussle.
You are creating. You aren't doing anything where you're making a mark on culture in whatever way it looks like. You have to be willing and know that people are going to disagree. That disagreement does not mean you're moving in the wrong direction. You know what I'm saying? You have to be willing to submit to wise counsel and be willing to submit to people who know, more, or people who have experience in something, but do not let other people's opinions stop you from contributing to culture. And I think it's a big thing.
Proverbs 20:11. Even a child makes himself known by his acts, by whether his conduct is pure and upright. So you got to be willing to look at yourself and like see what is your life say about you. What are your actions say about you? Because I once heard before, I can tell who you are by what you practice. So are you practicing changing and challenging yourself? Because how are you going to practice? How are you going to try to challenge and change something if you're not willing to challenge and change yourself? How are you going to challenge and change something if you're not willing to let people challenge and change you? Like going back to that compel and control, like either you can let this like compel you or control you. You can let your people challenge you to compel you or control you. Like you can let those disagreements, like you said, compel you or control you, bro. Because like hate and disagreement is given. It's like everybody's not gonna see this the same way that you see it. They don't have your experiences. They don't have your viewpoint. They don't have your perspective. But just because you have pushback, that doesn't mean you have to give up. You know what I'm saying? Like if Jesus gave up when he had pushback, we all be secretly too. You know what I'm saying? We're not, because he stuck and went against the grain. And sometimes life gets uncomfortable and you have to go against the grain. And you gotta be comfortable with doing that. And that's an uncomfortable thing, but like you gotta let your passion feel the flame.
Like Travis said, it takes that one step of being like, I'm no longer going to let culture define who I am. I'm going to define who I am. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm going to move accordingly.
Define what culture means to you, and then go out and either find or implement that culture. Speak to people. You go around with your headphones in, with your head down, while in class. One day, like, if you know you want this culture to change, stop and speak with somebody that you may be passing every day, or sit by in class and y'all do not speak. Like, speak to them and because, y'all have some mutual interest if y'all taking, especially if it's like a core class, like, y'all taking like lab together or like a chemistry together. Sit down and talk to them because it's like a common interest, and like you will be able to make that cultural shift, that cultural change if you just speak and speak out and be yourself.
We're here to cure the culture, not conform.
Mm-hmm. And if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. Just remember that too, y'all.
Avoid becoming a social clique where no one else is allowed into your community.
A big thing is, it goes back to that open-mindedness and that mindset to communicate, not convince. Because if I'm trying to convince, if you're not convinced, I don't have anything to do with you. Like, I'm done with our interaction because you didn't see it my way. When I'm trying to communicate, then it doesn't matter if you saw it like I saw it, because at the end of the day, we're just talking. You know what I'm saying? And I think also, when we talked about gratitude, I think it's also accepting where people are at. We have a group chat called the Godly Guys, and there's 32 of us. And some of us are a bit more godly than others, and the way that we our actions and things that we do and how we move. But we're not going to be like, oh my gosh, you did this thing that I would never do, so you're a bad person. No, absolutely not, because that's not the point.
How do you see yourself actually improving y'all's brand and like the way y'all do things in a generation of people who don't have godly values, godly community, or even just good values in general? So how do y'all see yourselves like living about the country, not just our small areas and state in our world?
I wanted to be able to speak to all walks of life, but you can't speak to all walks of life when you only focusing on one group of people that's being marginalized. You can't do that. You feel what I'm saying? So now you have to speak with Sean, Bryson, and Bird. Speak with love and truth at all times. When you speak with love and truth, it doesn't matter what you're fighting for, because what you're fighting for is still going to be what you're fighting for, what you're trying to, help out, I guess, or solve. But when you're speaking with love and truth, it can be applied to any situation, it's universal. Like, you can put it anywhere. It's a common denominator, love and truth, love and truth. And when you put it in everything, you can't really lose it.
So how do y'all take those biases, the ones they have, the ones y'all have, and take that and make a change in culture?
Everyone's always going to have some type of biases. Before, while we were setting up today, we were talking about sports and Michael Jordan. And I know there's a lot of bias. There's a lot of bias in it. But I think one thing that, that didn't escalate that conversation was just the fact we had a mutual respect. And we respect that bias. We don't have to necessarily agree with it, but we can, respect it to the point where this is how I feel on it. And you're going to tell me how you feel on it, and we're going to keep it pushing, because at the end of the day, whether or not, it's more so like an opinion, and you have to respect that opinion. Now, I can understand if it's an immoral opinion, and then I'm going to tell you about yourself, bro, that's incorrect. But, when it's a mutual good morally opinion, I can respect it. I have to respect it as another human being, as somebody who's sharing, life.
There's two questions. So in becoming authentic and showing yourself, how do you face the adversity of knowing you're different and the world may look at you differently? And then the next question would be, how do you challenge yourself, people to be authentic?
Go back to asking yourself where you're rooting, because you can either root yourself in people's opinions, or you can root yourself in something that is firm, a firm foundation. I'm a believer, so I root my identity in Jesus, right? And I know that He won't ever fail, so my identity will never fail, because my identity is not bent on me. Because if it was bent on me, I'd be faithful. You know what I'm saying? Because I mess up, I make mistakes all the time, but I know that I can go back to that, because that is something that is firm, that is established. It's the rock. You know what I'm saying? And when I establish myself on people's opinions are up here one day that I'm going to next to. So either, you know what I'm saying, you can live life knowing that your foundation, your valuability comes from a source that's beyond them, or you can live your life like trying to appease people.
And there was a lot of intentionality of initiating conversations to start those relationships/connections. You also talked about embracing your insecurities. So the question is this: how would you conquer loneliness if initiating conversations with people is one of your biggest insecurities?
The first step you gotta do is ask yourself why. And break that social mold. You don't want to talk to people because you're scared and anxious. You're worried about how they gonna look at you. First, you gotta see how you look at yourself. How you study. Like, if you gotta have that confidence. Like, you gotta really tell yourself, like, bro, you that guy. Like, any person you walk to don't fall in love with you, regardless of how you feel, what they say. Like, if they don't love you, then they just not for you. And that's the mindset you kind of gotta have. I don't want everybody to be arrogant with it, but like, you gotta understand that though, like, at the end of the day, you matter. And loneliness is only a soft for misery. And you do need community, you do need people. And the way to go about it is just have that confidence and ask yourself why. And really start to like find your place. Like Bryson said, you gotta have a source. And you gotta be rooted somewhere. You don't want to be grounded because you stand for nothing, you fall for anything.
I just want to give you all y'all flowers, man. Like, this is amazing. Especially y'all saying like y'all had this vision in your head. Like me being a creator, you know, having visions in my head and then creating it, you know, that's amazing. And just seeing y'all here, like Bryce and Kobe, like I can say Kobe, like he be up like till 1 in the morning. I'd be like, what is this man doing? But he's working on his craft, you know what I'm saying? And like I'm like so proud of y'all, like so serious because like y'all started in Chrisville where I live, and now y'all are in a cool atrium. That's how you say it? Yeah. So and it's so good because y'all got people in the overflow, you know, wanting to hear y'all speak. So that shows something about y'all and that y'all doing the right thing, you know what I'm saying? So congratulations and thank y'all so much for this talk. It's amazing.
This discussion, this Gen Z pod, or our Gen Z panel discussion, is that we want to start sparking a movement where these conversations are had. I mean, one thing that we have been saying all the time in our own meetings is that we are not here for a moment, we're here for a movement.
I need a bag, como se dice, I make a banger that got it on replay.